across this big, brown, flat, mysterious, crazy country, Telstra MobileNet Digital presents Martin Molloy with Mick Molloy and Tony Martin.
And today, Bob and Blanche's wedding, the bus, the hair, the cake, the tears, and that taped aircraft noise. Is it true the happy couple requested it specially rather than the usual Michael Bolton or Mariah Carey? Also, Mick's got some new marketing suggestions for the church. We go inside the mind of Tony Barber. As always, we'll play Moment of Truth. On Radio Gladiators, we go Elvis crazy. And joining us live from the set of Frontline, new series starts tonight, by the way, Tom Gleisner, Tommy G, his own self. It's all being unfurled right here on the show that makes Hawkey's nose run like a bastard, Martin Molloy.
SAFM.
Welcoming you to another week of Martin Molloy with myself, Tony Martin, and this bloke here, the man who stunned everyone at Bob and Blanche's wedding with his spirited rendition of Bette Midler's The Rose, Mick Molloy.
Well, it was a special occasion, Tone.
Oh, it sure was. It was a beautiful wedding, Mick, and the ceremony itself was superbly orchestrated. Protesters for the groom on one side, protesters for the bride on the other. And there was plenty of action out the front of the Ritz-Carlton and Sydney's Double Bay. Firstly, a huge double-decker bus rolled up, adorned with balloons and a giant white boat. Oh, sorry, that wasn't a bus, that was Kim Beazley. But I think we could see that joke coming even before we saw the bus coming, actually.
Absolutely.
But I think the bus was a great idea, and I admire Hawkey's decision to wear the full Blakey from on the bus's gear. This marriage was due out 10 minutes ago. It's the kind of showmanship we've come to expect from Bob. And the three-tiered cake was a masterpiece, and I understand there was so much icing left over, the chefs used it to sculpt a special wedding day hairpiece for Hawkey. Did you check Bob's hair, Mick?
Yep.
Even by his standards, it was outrageous. It was the full Liberace job. And I understand every guest got a slice of it in a napkin to take home with them. But Blanche was a picture.
Oh, wasn't she?
Oh, the dress featuring a bulky 25-foot train, which I understand was actually fashioned from unsold copies of the Hawke memoirs. And the wedding itself went off without a hitch. Plumbers were called in at one point to do a bit of work on Hawkey's nose, which, as he told everybody, was running with such force. I understand David Copperfield was to take it on for his next special. The couple were keen to set the media straight on a few points, and I think this was the way to go. They went out the front and gave the media a bit of a serve. They haven't sold the rights to the wedding coverage for a vast sum. Gargantuan sum is apparently a more accurate description. And no, Kerry Packer had not been invited. In fact, Packer himself described such claims as nonsense. He's never met Blanche. He's never been anywhere near the Ritz-Carlton. The cheque was clearly forged, etc.
Yep.
But, of course, all the focus really was on the protesters. They did a fantastic job, didn't they?
Tone, they were great. You know, they could have soured the whole day. They could have brought the whole thing down, but they got into the spirit of it.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got to admire.
Yeah.
Even when you're protesting, you've got to respect the day. They were wonderful. They didn't have placards, which I thought was fantastic. They just wrote, get out of Burma on the back of his car in shaving cream.
That was fantastic.
They were caught short, really, because they didn't have any confetti to throw at the couple as they came out the front, but they managed to make do with a couple of hundred eggs, which I thought was a wonderful moment. Wonderful moment. And the big one was the residents of near the airport who'd recorded aircraft noise and played it through really loud speakers to annoy them. Now, that was quite a big stand, although I understand Hawke plans to retaliate by taping his saucy wedding night shenanigans and playing it full bore out the front of disgruntled residents' houses. And I think it's doing the trick, Tone. Residents have already said they'll help build the third runway. Numbers 4 and 5 could be finished before the end of the year. And residents have offered to stand out the front of their houses with table tennis bats and land them in the street.
Oh, the nerve of that. The all-new SAFM.
Please, no more calls. Mick made a slight mistake. What he meant to say was extend the third runway rather than build the third runway, because I think we all know that the third runway's up and running. There were a lot of calls. One bloke called up. I couldn't understand a bloody word he was saying, just plain noise in the background. So, you know, our hearts go out to you people. Laurie Brereton, you're a dud. That's for all the people who called up now. Let's turn towards more peaceful matters. Mick, what's going on in the world of religion?
Well, have a listen to this. This is very interesting news, Tone. McDonald's is more famous than Jesus. This is according to new research. A poll was taken, and the Golden Arches logo was recognised by more people worldwide than the Christian cross.
Really?
The cross, yep, came fifth after the Olympic rings, McDonald's, Shell and Mercedes. I'm not sure, but I think King Willie Wheatie may have been in there somewhere too. It wasn't so much in that case who was more recognisable, but people seem to be confusing Jesus and King Willie Wheatie.
Oh, well, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it's trouble. I know a couple who actually went to the Vatican to see the Shroud of Turin and were very disappointed not to find the imprint of like a cartoon egg-like character with a crown and sceptre, but that's how it goes, really. Now, I think there's a problem here that the church has to address, and that is they're not marketing themselves properly. McDonald's is reaching the public, the church is not. So the church should take a leaf out of McDonald's, and I believe what could be a possible compromise here would be to combine the two. Combine a church and a McDonald's, so you've kind of got the all one-encompassing Big Mac and prayer time thing happening.
How would that work, though, Mick?
Well,
take us through it.
Okay, well, your church, as you're approaching it, has got the big golden T right out the front.
Like it.
Of course, as usual, you've got your drive-through section. You just place your order and then drive to the second window, where you get your body of Christ in a bag and a large blood of Christ. Make sure to get a straw, because it can be a bugger when you're driving, can't it? You know when you got your blood of Christ between the knees, and next thing you know, the lid's popped off, blood of Christ everywhere. You look in, you go, it's all ice. I've been ripped off. So there you go. Other things you could do. The church should also have an adventure playground. You incorporate other things into the adventure playground you find at McDonald's. You know, kiddies could amuse themselves by nailing each other to the big cross. See how long they could stay behind the big rock. Try and divide some fish so there's enough for all of them. No miracles required there. Just give them a fillet of fish and there'll be plenty left over for everyone. Stone tablets for lessons, you could hand them out, as McDonald's do. The only real break with tradition in this case is the stone tablet won't be between two sesame seed buns. Instead of an in-store appearance by a jolly clown with red hair and yellow pants, just get a bearded bloke in a sheet bleeding from the forehead, and all the kids get to stone him. And I think that'll be hours of entertainment for the kiddies. And I mean, if you can't find an available supply of rocks anywhere, you could just get some hot apple pies. One of those to the noggin and you'll be unconscious for days. You got your figurines of the three wise men, your disciple of month photo on the wall. And here's something, a special event. Every so often you could do a restaging of the Last Supper. You got Jesus at the table and he's telling all his disciples that one of them is going to betray him. Then you move along the table and you see Luke, John, Paul, and then down the very end you see the Hamburglar. And let me just say at this point, Jesus won't need to remind everyone present to keep their eyes on their fries.
It's a lovely bit of work there on the guitar, Mick Molloy. I don't know how you do it. Every time we play the song, did exactly the same each time.
I live for it, Tone.
It's those special classes you've been going to.
It's what I do. It's what I do. It's what makes me special, T. Martin.
Brian Adams from the big new Don Juan DeMarco film. And while I'm just looking in your direction, Mick Molloy, I'd like to apologise for Mick's last segment. We've done 2 segments so far, Mick, and I've had to apologise for you in both of them.
Trust me, I'm done now.
Let's see if we can find something more low-key for you. Do you feel like a bit of gong hitting?
I do, Tone. I thought today, instead of hitting the gong, I might just smack myself on the forehead with the gong stick. Do you mind?
Show for your life, yeah. And now, join us on a voyage of discovery as we venture into the mind of one of Australia's most popular entertainers and eavesdrop on his innermost thoughts. This is the inner life of Tony Barber.
People used to love my funny little run on at the start of sale, but I wonder if they realised I ran like that all the way from home. I must talk to Victoria Nichols, Elise Platt and Delvine Delaney about my plans for a remake of Charlie's Angels. If all your Christmases did come at once, you'd be knee-deep in my albums. You know, I love it when Glenn Ridge drops by on the weekend. I just wish he'd stop calling me OB1. Going into Jeopardy? Maybe I should have asked for some thinking music. Nikki Buckley? Yeah, she's all right. But Barbie Rogers? Now, she knew her way around the gift shop, if you know what I mean.
What I like about you, that's the romantics as we spin the wheels of steel here on Martin Molloy.
Oh, hang on a second. I'd like to take this opportunity to apologise for Tony Martin.
Well,
He's gone DJ on it.
I'm thinking the romantics, I'm thinking Rocktober, I'm thinking Black Thunders, I'm thinking the wheels of steel.
Oh, there's going to be an inquiry after the show.
I'm just trying to knit a big tapestry of something.
I refer to Hansard, Your Honour. Yesterday's program where the phrase steel wheels was used.
I've been looking in the guidebook. You know what I've been doing? I've been reading the jock strip.
Have you really?
Oh, yes, the announcers.
You're a bookworm,
They
Tony.
send out this thing called the jock strip to announcers. It's full of very basic information. It's like how to put your pants on. You know, they start real simple. And I'm up to chapter 7 now.
You're doing well.
How to open the door of the studio.
I don't think anyone's ever made it that far into the Jock's Journal, have they?
I think
You've set a record.
Hey, but enough industry talk. Gladiators is on the way. Can't give too much away today except get the sideys on. That's all I'm saying. Our guest in the next hour, Tom... Hey, shh. Too many clues, Mick, too many clues. You'll have people... Look, the phones have lit up already. I think there's people phoning up to say, stop using the phrase wheels of steel, quite frankly. And, Tom Gleisner's popping in from Frontline. And we used to throw to him every week on The Late Show, hoping to do that again today, just reenact one of those great throws. And just reminding you, Frontline starts tonight. Don't bother with that other stuff on the other channels there, mucking about in the shallow end. People, they don't know what they're doing. Frontline, ABC, 8 o'clock. And speaking of television, I believe you were watching the golf all weekend, Mick.
Yes, I was. And do I have to say it again? Can I voice my displeasure, Tony? Golf is it's a silly game anyway, but I get so disappointed in the crowds because they just don't get into it. No one barracks for their favourite golfer. Have you ever noticed that? 3 guys are playing each other and you support them all. You have to stand there and clap them all. Why not have good golfers and bad golfers like the wrestling? You know, one of them should be in a mask. They should be on the first tee. Please welcome Nick Faldo. Polite applause. Tom Watson. Polite applause. And Killer Carl Kowalski. And he just, everyone boos as he emerges in his underpants and a cape. And I just think that'd make for better golfing, wouldn't it? I mean, and this is the other thing that I really don't like is the crowd. They refuse to get into it. You know, the players on the first tee, they tee up, where's the cries? Where's the chants? Where's the cries of Chewy on your boot or your grandma wears army boots? Never heard it once. Never seen a streaker. Why? It's the only crowd I know where there's no 2-can limit. Well, let's abuse that, folks. You know, I want to see a golfing riot, damn it. I want to see people with their pants tucked into their socks going the punch. Is that too much to ask? Oh, dear. They should get into it. Have you ever noticed at the football or any sporting occasion like that, when player's going to, kick for goal or do whatever, the other player stands on the mark and tries to put him off?
Right.
Well, let's have a bit of that action. When a golfer's putting, the other should be standing behind the flag with the pants down doing the chicken tonight dance. You know the one? I feel like chicken tonight.
No, that dance.
Tackle wobbling, you're going for it. You're putting the guy off. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a player on the 18th tee, or the 18th green of St Andrews, putting for the championship, and I'd like to see his opponent rolling around on the green behind the pin like Michelle Pfeiffer in the Fabulous Baker Boys singing Makin' Whoopee.
This is Martin Molloy. Martin Molloy.
Oh, I hope people aren't just tuning in now because they'll be thoroughly confused.
Back after this song on the all-new
Wasted.
Martin Molloy on the all-new SAFM.
And it's time for...
Radio Gladiators, your chance to represent your state and win fame, glory, and fabulous prizes. Here's today's challenge.
Here's what I've decided, Mick. You can't get enough Elvis impersonators.
Oh, yeah.
There's always a shortage. Try and get an Elvis impersonator. You know, the phones are booked out for months in advance. Have you ever tried to hire...
Could you hold, sir? Could you hold? Aren't you sick of that?
You know, sometimes you just feel like whacking on the sides yourself, and that's the premise.
Mutton chops, Toad. Mutton chops.
We're looking for Elvis impersonators today because, of course, Elvis to the Max is in town.
Absolutely.
Touring Australia. That's alias Max Pellicano, one of the world's top, if not the top, Elvis impersonators. And
foremost.
I say Elvis impersonators, but that's not how he sees himself. He's an ambassador for Elvis.
Is he?
That's what he is.
I thought he was kind of channeling him.
He could well be. He's the king reincarnated, and we're trying to find out, you know, obviously Elvis to the Max can't be everywhere at once. We want to hear your Elvis and see if you're, you know, got what it takes to pull on the jumpsuit and get out on the road along with Max and his... and his supporters. So you're not doing this for nothing, of course, because prizes, well, you've got the 3-pack of CDs. We know about that. One of them's the Batman Forever soundtrack. And then there's that trip, that weekend for two at Le Meridian at the Rialto in Melbourne. We'll get you there no matter where you are across the big brown land. It's the soul of Europe. Everybody... I'll follow the bouncing ball. It's the soul of Europe in the heart of Melbourne. So all you have to do is a bit of Elvis. It can be talking Elvis. It can be dialogue from his films. It can be a bit of singing if you've got a guitar. Pull that out. Just as long as it's pure bloody Elvis. That's what we want to hear. Call now at Radio Gladiators 1-800-657-657.
SAFM.
We're playing Radio Gladiators, and just before we get underway, I should mention the prize draw, because we give away one of these trips to Le Meridian at the Rialto every week on the show. And they had a bit of a draw this afternoon, and I've never seen such a procedure. Blokes in suits, blokes with walkie-talkies and sunnies. Guns were out. There were a couple of guys. The barrel was actually operated by a couple of guys in those Dustin Hoffman outbreak suits.
Yeah, well, it wasn't enough in my mind. When you're sitting on gold, Tone, you protect it with your life.
Everything was done properly, and the name that came out of the barrel from last week's Gladiators was Graham Foster of Logan Lee.
Oh, Graham. You lucky ducky.
Logan Lee in Queensland, and he'll be flown down here at some expense, and he'll just be pampered
at Le Meridian, where they treat everyone like the king, Tone.
That's right. Thank you for getting me round to today's Gladiators, Mick Molloy. We're looking for Elvis impersonations because the big Elvis to the Max show is in town at the moment. Mick, what happened to that show you were getting up, Engelbert to the Max? Did anything happen there?
No, I had an idea for an Australian Doors tribute band, but, you know, that basically turned out to be just me naked from the waist up in a pair of brown leather pants, and, you know, once people cotton onto that, it just went belly up.
Didn't go anywhere?
No.
Well, let's hear what sort of Elvis material we've got online. Introduce the Gladiators.
Okay, we've got Shane on the line. Hello, Shane.
Hi there.
How are you, mate?
Pretty good.
Okay, now you better put Elvis on because weid like to speak to him. What's he going to do? Is he going to sing for us or
have
talk?
Have a bit of a warble, I think.
Okay.
It's now or never, I guess, isn't it?
Okie dokie, as they say.
It's now or never. Come home me tight. Kiss me, my darling. Be mine tonight.
Hey, Shane, what would someone make of that if they just walked into the room right now?
Oh, I'm well and truly off the road behind bushes, mate. Don't you worry about that.
That's Shane to the Max, but have we got Dave to the Max? Dave, are you there?
Yeah, mate.
Let's hear a bit of Elvis.
Okay. Return to sender. And no, oh shit, I forgot what the bloody song is.
And there you go. And
that's the best impression I've ever seen, because he used to forget the lyrics, didn't he?
Thank you very much.
Quite a lot. Oh, I tell you.
Oh, that's track 1 on the new album for Dave. Let's move on to who. How do I say this name, Mick?
Try Osman.
Osman. Are you there, Osman?
Yes.
Oh, Osman, hit us with a bit of Elvis if you can.
Okay. One for the money, or two for the show. I'm free to get ready and go, man, go. Oh, yeah. Shooting the blues, oh, yeah.
How old?
Don't know the lyrics either.
How old are you, Osman?
10.
So you're playing the younger Elvis
Yeah.
before he started to stack it on.
Yeah.
That's not a bad one.
Osman, if we ever have a competition where we ask people if they could, like, be the meal of Elvis Presley, you're a chance. But Elvis Presley himself, I don't think so.
Have we got one more, Mick?
I think we've got Michael on the line.
Yes, you have.
Okie dokie. Michael, you've got Elvis there, have you?
Yes, I'm going to do that one from the Pop-Tarts ad.
Oh, thank God, because we were hoping. We've been sitting here all thinking, when's someone going to do the one from the Pop-Tart ad?
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. Got no bread and butter, got no toast and jam, love those Kellogg's Pop-Tarts, I'm a Pop-Tart fan, woohoo!
Well, what can I say, Michael? That's just outstanding.
Are you wearing the jumpsuit, Michael?
Well, not exactly.
Have you got the sideys on?
No.
You got a couple of hula girls there with you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's 1 point for him. But is he our winner, though, Mick?
No, he's not. By a long shot, he's not. I think it has to go to numero Shane, who's hiding in the bushes on the side of the road.
Shane, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, you can jump out from behind the bushes. You've got yourself a 3-pack of CDs and you're in for the draw for Lou Meridian.
All right, way to go.
Okay, thanks for being... Give us a bit more, Elvis. Just throw... If you could do this, just throw to the ads. Just go, coming up next, we've got... Just do it as Elvis for us.
Oh, crikey. You want me to talk like Elvis?
Yeah, give us a bit of dialogue.
Right. Well, this is Elvis here, and we're going to move right on now to the next bit of rubbish.
I think that's the new promo for the show. Thanks very much, Shane. We'll be back with Tom Gleisner after the news.
This is Martin Molloy, brought to you by Telstra Mobile Net Digital.
And in this hour, another moment of truth. We go inside Robin Gibbs' Living Hell. But next up, Tom Gleisner, Tommy G himself, joins us to talk about the new series of Frontline, starting tonight, by the way. And it's all courtesy of Telstra Mobile Net Digital.
SAFM.
The all-new SAFM.
We've moved up a bit on the couch, Mick, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Because it's time to bring in a bloke who normally I'd throw to him like this. And now let's find out what's at the news desk with Tommy G. But today he's a multimedia slut. He's part of the Frontline team. He's part of the Funky Squad team. You'd remember him from The Late Show. It's Tom Gleisner. Thanks for coming in, Tom.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Mick. Two of the few people in the world who can pronounce my surname correctly. Nice to be here.
What kind of variations have you been hearing lately? Have you been round the...
Glasnost is one that comes out on a frighteningly regular basis. It's Austrian, where the family rigorously maintains, not
Really?
German. Gleisner.
Ah, because Santo Chilaro gets... he's often referred to as Gauro for some reason.
He often he becomes a company. Yeah, no one's ever got his... And Mick, I remember working with you. You always used to get mail addressed Molloy.
Molloy.
Still happen?
Yeah, I've had touring posters that are appearing tonight in Bendigo. Mick Molloy. Yeah.
The best one of those I've heard, I don't know if the listeners would know, Andrew Goodwin. He's a comedian we had on the show a few weeks ago, and he appeared at a country pub, and his name's Andrew Goodwin. It's his real name. And the poster, when he arrived, said, Anthony Good Times.
He incorporated a bit of lap dancing into the act of that night, I think.
Fantastic.
Now, Tom, your name came up on the show last week because we were talking about weddings for some reason, and of course, at your wedding, I believe the best man was actually Charlie the Wonder Dog. Am I far off the mark there?
Well, he wasn't best man, but my wife and I did bring our 2 dogs. We own Charlie the Wonder Dog and his sister Ellie. It is rather tragic that we're already talking about them, but 2 golden retrievers, and they did come to our wedding, and we sort of tied them, we staked them up outside the marquee, and I can remember during my speech, which I didn't put a lot of work into, I have to admit, and it was going down a storm. I'm thinking, I am on a roll here. And it was the Molloy table over in the corner who were actually not listening to my speech or my thank yous, but in fact watching the 2 dogs that were in a rather compromising position out on the leads.
We had money on it, Tommy.
The tragedy was Ellie was on top, so it's a moment burnt in my memory.
And Charlie has since issued a formal apology. He apologises for his insane behaviour and any hurt he may have caused his girlfriend, family and the people at Estee Lauder. But Tom, how is Charlie? Because we had a lot of faxes, people calling in going, how is Charlie? What's he doing? Is there a film in the works?
Well, no, very quiet. He was only going to make one reappearance. I think it was the Logies. Remember the year that we actually bagged a couple of awards?
Nobody believes that, but...
I offered the executive producer, I said, how would you like Charlie the Wonder Dog? Because Bud Tingwell was going to get the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Right.
And I thought, that'd be nice that Charlie the Wonder Dog, we could, like, gaffer tape it to his mouth and drag him out. And the then EP said, no, we've got a far better idea. We're getting Bob Morrison to do something. And I watched the whole night, and Bob Morrison never appeared.
What happened to Bob?
Who knows? He must have just got nerves. So Charlie was dudded, and since then he's gone very reclusive.
I seem to remember, actually, the real version of that story, I think, Tom, was that you wanted Charlie the Wonder Dog to come out with Bob Morrison between his teeth.
That was a latter idea, but originally it was going to be carrying the Lifetime Achievement Award for Bud Tingwell, who, of course, starred in Charlie the Wonder Dog.
He did indeed, as Gramps, if I remember. But let's move up to date and let's talk about Frontline. And can you stick around, Tom?
Certainly.
You want to hear some better music and more of it?
But I'll stick around anyway, yes, certainly.
OK, you've come to the right show. We'll be back in a moment on Martin Molloy.
Martin Molloy. Back soon.
You too, Angel of Harlem here on Martin Molloy, where Tom Gleisner, we know him as Tommy G, has popped in, one of the, directors, writers, creators, producers of Frontline. But Tom, you were in the show too, weren't you?
Frontline last year, yes, I played the photocopier maintenance man, but very few people spotted me. It was a very subliminal role.
Can you take us through the character? What's the motivation? How do you build it? How do you psych yourself up before you get into the character?
I had a little badge that said Conica, Tony, and I put that on. That's all I needed. I was up the back and rarely noticed, except by someone from Conica who supplied our photocopier, who rang to apologise. Oh, we didn't know you were having such trouble with it. We're really sorry.
And much of a following amongst photocopier maintenance blokes, stalkers, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Because they're a strange breed, because they're not your standard sort of like your fridge repairman with the pants down and the, you know what I mean? They like to dress up a bit, your photocopier maintenance man. They tend to wear the shirt and the tie and a few too many biros in the top pocket.
You're right, you know.
And they carry a briefcase. I mean, they should be carrying a toolkit, but that's obviously a bit blue collar for them.
Yeah, I always thought one of the village people should have been a photocopier repairman.
Would have been a classy look. And little briefcase with screwdrivers and a whole bit in there. But they like to think of themselves sort of, on the upper echelons of the workforce.
They've gone to a bit of trouble. Now, let's get back to Frontline. The new series starts tonight. And don't bother getting out your TV guides, because there's nothing else worth watching on tonight, I can assure you of that. And Tommy, what's in Series 2? What's changed, apart from obviously Bruno's no longer with us, but what has the focus of the series changed?
No, still plugging away. Of course, the current affairs around Frontline has changed. Mr. Stan Grant has left the building, and there's been a few other changes, but Frontline continue to plod on, attempting to sort of gain the ratings at all costs. And tonight we see the making of, the network promos that they trot out every year.
Yes.
There's the one, I Am Channel 9. In fact, I saw one up in the country. It was I Am Win TV. They've done several versions, and of that really sincere one. And Channel 7 trot them out. Everyone's kind of dancing, and it's always amusing because there's obviously certain network celebrities. I imagine you guys would be in this boat who don't want to take part. Like, I remember they had Andrew Denton was just a crate with the word danger or something. Andrew obviously had the good sense to go, nah, not dancing, not singing. So just baby John Burgess sort of filling in the gap. But yeah, and Channel 10 always a try fairly, because because they don't have enough personalities. We saw one. We saw one, and Anne Fulwood had been flown down from Sydney, and she got out of a horse and carriage and was sort of greeted by, I think it may have been Mal Walden, and that's where it started and finished. The rest was just school kids and basketballers, because they don't have the galaxy of stars that year 9 or year 7 do. But anyway, I digress. Tonight, Frontline's, the network, the mythical network, Frontline is on, makes one of those promos.
And did you go to a lot of trouble? How much trouble did you go to? Have you
Probably about as much as Channel 9, I'd suggest. In fact, we employ one of their very similar production techniques, which will become clear tonight on Frontline.
Now, what I like about what Channel 9 did when the first series of Frontline was on, the publicity machine moved into action, and they managed to create this kind of feeling in the media that it was all about real life, that the whole show was a parody of Stan Grant. When I think I could only pick that Mike Moore played a guitar in one episode. That was about really the only direct link there.
It was as much Ray Martin or indeed Darren Hinch or any number of people.
While simultaneously claiming never to have seen it.
That's right, yes.
The other, I haven't seen it, but...
That was the attack in the early weeks of Frontline last year. Everyone said, no, never seen it, thinking that would make the whole thing just go away. And when it didn't, then they moved into phase 2, which was to say, I've seen it, but it's not very accurate. And then it still didn't go away.
Of course. Now, it starts tonight. That's going to be the first episode. If you got to the last one, what happens is there's going to be a big Melrose Place style finale, an explosion, something like that.
Sort of a Dallas type thing. We haven't actually got that far, guys, but we're only a few episodes ahead of ourselves. We're only sort of got a couple in the can at the moment. Right. And so we're just watching, observing, taking it all in, percolating it through the system, and then producing it.
Praying like vultures, waiting for some carcass to reveal itself.
Siege, Mick. We're desperate for a siege by Ep5, or we're going to run short.
Oh, don't worry, Tom. We know the feeling on this program. The drought went for about 3 weeks. Mick and myself are out on the balcony going, oh, what can we do? And then suddenly Hugh Grant was handed to us on a plate.
Raining jokes.
It's tragic, isn't it? You look at the newspapers and you go, Bosnia, wage accord. He just flicked through major world events.
Look, he's got married! Yes! The show is saved. Well, Tom, all the best with Frontline.
Hey, before you wrap up, because you've got that kind of wrap-up tone in your voice there, I just couldn't go without saying congratulations on your sterling performance as Ponch.
I was wondering where this was going.
As Poncho
in Funky Squad. Thank you, Mick.
It was exceptional. Shot in the tongue.
That's right.
When did you come up with that, Tommy G?
Very late. It was actually a spin-off from the Bobbitt, John Wayne Bobbitt affair. We figured his tongue was knocked off by a bullet and they never quite found it.
Here's what happened. You had to look at how many lines you had to learn. And you've gone, guys, I've got an idea.
Yeah, exactly. No, I had one less line than I had in the series of Frontline.
Maybe in the next series he could be a master of disguise and you could just get a series of different actors to play the role or something.
I think we'll explore that idea.
You don't even have to turn up.
He's writing it down, Mick. Well, thanks for coming in, Tom. All the best tonight.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Mick.
And with the rest of the series, of course, Frontline tonight on the ABC, 8 o'clock. But meanwhile, life goes on here at Martin Molloy.
SAFM.
And it's time now for...
Moment of Truth.
And we all know how the segment works. Mick, I haven't done this for a while. Care. See, I can't even put two words together, so it's going to be up to you to explain how Moment of Truth works clearly and concisely for the listeners.
Well, what we do, folks, is we paint you a picture. We start with a blank canvas, and then we chock it full of facts, right? Usually about 4. Now, as it turns out, only one of these so-called facts is ever true, meaning there are 3 furfies in there. 3 facts which would be better known as furfies. So basically, we paint the canvas, we put it out, you pluck this canvas, you go for the one that you think is right, and if you choose the same one that we choose, which happens to be the factual one, or the one that's more factual than the other so-called fact, you run the real chance of being laden in jewels and riches, and you will never have to work again. You can retire. You'll be able to look after. You'll be giving grants to charities. You'll become quite notorious around the town. You'll probably get a pipe and a dressing gown and just stand out on the balcony all day while, girls in the front garden with rabbit ears just throw balls to each other because you're that powerful and wealthy. As well as the kudos. The kudos attached to winning Moment of Truth. Can I tell you, you enter a very elite club. It's like, what's that society?
Sorry, Mick, what are you saying? I've been watching Neighbours for the last 45 seconds. Hang on, there was something about a canvas and painting, and then there was something about furfies. What are you on about?
Well, I'm explaining.
Oh,
how it
moment
all
of truth.
goes.
That's right. It's a competition. Thanks for. I'm sure it was explained very well. I was distracted.
Mensa.
Mick.
That's it's like a club like Mensa.
Pete Smith, tell us about the prizes.
Every contestant on Moment of Truth scores a copy of Max Sharam's album, $1 Million Girl. I've heard it, and if there's a better album released this year, I'll be dining on Hatta L'Orange.
I'm coming around. I'm coming around. You got to be. You have got to be born.
Every winner goes into the draw for a week of indulgence for two at Belbray, Australia's only boutique health retreat, right on the beach between Byron Bay and Coolangatta. I've been to Belbray myself and can honestly say it's completely transformed my love life. Don't want to give too much away, but let's just say that Tommy Lee better have his stuff moved out by the weekend. Back to you, lads.
Oh, yes, and there'll be an exclusive spread on that little coupling in the next TV week.
I hope he's not getting the tattoo.
Oh, I hope he's not getting the implants. But if you'd like to play Moment of Truth, and I think you know how simple it really is, call now, 1-800-657-657.
This is Martin Molloy.
They have been but little cogs in a vast and intricate machine.
Brought to you by Telstra Mobile Net Digital.
Thank you, August.
7.
Hello, I think that means we're back here on Martin Molloy. It's Moment of Truth time, and who have we got on the line, Mickey?
We've got Steve. How are you, Steve?
Very, very good, my good man.
Excellent. Well, pleasure to hear.
Hey, Steve, am I your good man as well?
You certainly are. You certainly are.
And what?
But if you had to choose, you'd probably like me better than Tony.
Oh, geez, it's hard to pick.
What about Pete Smith? Is he your good man?
Look, I have bought the odd piece of copper out, I must admit.
Oh, you'll be very pleased to hear that. And here he is now with the rules of Moment of Truth.
4 facts. Only one of them actually true. Can you pick the moment of truth? Okay, lads, let fly with the porkies.
Was that Steve?
Yes.
What were you saying under that? You up to no good?
Yeah, I am up to no good.
We can't take our eye off you for a minute, can we?
Nobody interrupts Mr. Copper pal. We'll come round to see you in person with the tux on. Now, today's question, it's kind of a maths question, really. So here we go. 125... Oh, who's that? Who's that? Is that one of the little Steves?
That's my little Steve.
Okay, here we go. £125,000 is A, the amount paid by Paula Yates for her breast enlargement.
B, the amount won by British Open golf champion John Daly.
C, the cost of a ticket to the Rolling Stones Wembley concert.
D, the current weight of our Deputy Prime Minister.
Oh, I'd like to go D, but I'm going to go B.
Oh, yes, indeed. It is, in fact, the amount won by some golfer. Big John Daly.
Well, little Steve tried to go for D then, but I swung him over.
Well done. You had a bit of a talk about it, did you? Now, you've got a copy of the Max Sharam album, Steve.
That's absolutely wonderful.
But you also go into the draw for the trip to Belbray, and you'd be familiar with Belbray, wouldn't you?
Wonderful, yes. I've heard of. I've actually had Pete Smith around for dinner, so I know a little bit about it.
Oh, he eats you out of house and home, doesn't he? He just loves raw chickens. Just bring him out raw chickens on a train like Barry White. He'll just knock them back, bones and all. I wouldn't have him around, Steve. That's my advice to you. Carbohydrates. Mr. Copperart loves his carbohydrates. Always has a big bowl of pasta before he does the sale of the century. And then he just gets a couple of bottles of vodka and just sinks it in one go, sort of Jimmy Barnes style.
He's got a rider. You know, backstage at Sale, he's got a rider. Oh, it goes on and on and on. Egg sandwiches, profiteroles, Chico rolls, corn flakes.
I think we're running out of time, but thanks for playing.
Wedges.
Thanks
Lots
for
of choc wedges.
Playing Moment of Truth, Steve.
All right, you guys, let's have a little order around here.
Mick, when we started doing this show, remember what we said? We said that if we came up with any segment ideas that had a bit of theme music at the start, we'd have to have really crap, cornball names for these segments.
I remember distinctly.
It was a pledge of ours, and as such, we've got Mick Molloy's Celebrity Corner.
Cheesy as.
We've got Mick Molloy's World Focus.
Pew.
And I was wondering now if you could introduce my new segment.
All right. Is it time? Yes, I think it is. It's time for Tony Martin's Rock Connection.
Oh, yeah. Isn't this a lot of fun already?
And you got into the Acid Watch stretch denim too, and I think that's a good look for this section.
I'm the spitting image of Gavin Wood as I sit here, people. Listen to this. This is off the internet, this one. British pop group Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, and haven't they been at the cutting edge for so long? Let's hear a bit of their work now.
Someone's breaking into a car.
Oh, that's the kind of music that can turn a lovable golden retriever into a deranged, salivating pit bull in less than a minute. Believe you me, I've seen it happen, folks. Anyway, Orchestral Manoeuvres, you might remember them. One bloke up the back piss-farting around on a synthesiser, the other one up the front dancing like your dad after a few too many sherries and a couple of hours of rage. But they're being sued for $12.5 million by a woman, Barbara Klemper of London, who claims to have thought up their name. Now, even for $12 million, I don't reckon I'd own up to that. I mean, even the band are a bit embarrassed by it. They shortened it to OMD years ago, because it's hard to think of a more pretentious name than Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark.
Yeah.
What does it mean? I mean, to me, it suggests somebody in a room with all the lights out stabbing at a keyboard in a completely random fashion. Although, what would that sound like? I think it'd go a bit like that. But in another story which has just crossed my desk here at Rock Connection, a housewife stalker travelled 190 k's to break into BG Robin Gibbs' home at Oxfordshire, England, near London, in England anyway. Obsessed fan Marilyn Holmes, 43, was found, this is true, hiding in a cupboard armed with a camcorder. The mother of four had planned to make her own film of Gibbs' residence, but his sophisticated alarm system alerted the police. Now, I don't know why Robin brought in the cops on this one. I thought he'd welcome any kind of attention these days. I'd imagine there'd be a big sign outside his house saying, "Stalkers ahoy! Crazed fans welcome, no appointment necessary." A housewife wandering around his house with a camcorder filming his knickknacks. That'd be a promotional video for Robin these days, wouldn't it? Anyway, like the story says, if you are thinking, listeners, of breaking into Robin's house, watch out for that sophisticated alarm system. Here's a recording of it in action.
Right, OK, OK, you ready? Here we go. Jesus Christ. Just make your dreams. Oh, God. Turn it off. Run for your lives. It's a BJ.
And we'll be restored.
I'm afraid the show's run dry, Mick. The tank's almost empty for Martin Molloy today. I should just remind people, if you're watching TV tonight, it's a wasteland. There ain't nothing worth watching on except on the ABC 8 o'clock. Our old buddies from Frontline will be reigniting the magic
and going into battle.
Although I'm hoping tonight they'll have some more of that great footage of Bob and Blanche's wedding.
Oh, was it fantastic? Hope we see. I hope we see a dripping Bob Hawke. Did you see the nose?
Oh, close-ups of the nose, just running like Niagara.
It was amazing. It's like, imagine his ears are taps. Someone's just walked up and put them both on full bore, and it's going. It's like a fire. You know when you see a fire hydrant go off in a street. That's it. Kids are playing in it. It's like it's a hot day. Kids are out playing under Hawkey's nose.
I had a look at that footage of Hawkey's nose, and I was going, "There's a bloke being a wally with water." Oh, that's all we've got time for today. Thanks to our guest, Tom Gleisner. and all our gladiators. Thanks also to Tony Barber for letting us go inside his head. And just a tip, if you're planning on catching Tony Barber's act, because he's on round town all over the country, in fact, make sure you see the real Tony Barber and not one of those many impersonators. Don't go to that show Barber to the max. It's a dud, believe you me. Tomorrow we'll be joined by the living legend that is Mark Hunter. But until then, remember, if you can't say something intelligent, come talk to us.
Martin Molloy is a misguided production in association with Half-Baked Ideas and Ill-Conceived Concepts Proprietary Limited. Brought to you by Telstra Mobile Net Digital. Pete Smith speaking.